Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back to you. You were vanished for a while. Being in
Yes,
the bush, Rwanda, Uganda, where else, man?
yeah, I went to see our uh, beautiful
Ancestors.
gorillas, gorilla family.
That's great. I hope you had
Yes,
some great time.
yeah. It was wonderful. It was a new experience. So yeah, it was great fun. And after that, I went to Masai Mara
And
for
back
10
now to
days.
Dubai.
Yeah, and back now to Dubai, settling
All
down.
right. Don't make me jealous now. Let's talk about the guest.
Yeah, today we have a very special guest who play with light.
Light. Light. It's
Yes,
nothing
yes,
but light.
yes.
And he's an award-winning photographer. And
Yeah.
when I think about Rahul, what I remember, as you mentioned, it's nothing but light and some images of his lions in the rim light, and this particular one which we are using over here as a backdrop, the elephant fight, and then the tiger standing on 2 feet and fighting. So some of those images, some of those moments, he is really a spectacular photographer, a wonderful human, and somebody whom you can really easily talk to. That's again a superb quality when you're talking about a person. So
Yeah,
let's
and
welcome Rahul.
yeah, Rahul has been actively involved in wildlife since 2004, and he also won the Nature's Best Photography Award in 2017 for wildlife section. So yeah, let's hear from Rahul itself more about him. Let us add him to the stage. Hello.
Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good
Morning.
evening, wherever you guys are. I know for Nisha it is probably around dawn time, so yeah, good morning or something of that sort. No, 8ish I guess, but yeah. I hope you got a chance to get some breakfast, Nisha, and thank you for
I'm
having
sorry.
me here. I
Thank
hope you got a chance to get breakfast.
I'm still with my coffee.
Fantastic. We are yeah, both with coffees here. Okay. So yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. I've been watching your webinars for over a year and a half now, I guess, and quietly in the corner of my heart, thinking, when do these two idiots call me? Have I done enough in the field or not? There's always this. At whatever stage of life you are in this field, at least you always have this need for need for connecting with like-minded people. So I am so glad that I'm finally here, and yeah, let's see how it goes.
Thank you, thank you. In
Eager.
fact, whenever we approach somebody, it's there is an initial hesitation, especially from my side, whether he will say yes or no. Especially in our case, we only interact online, so
Correct,
I was
correct.
not very sure how the response is going to be.
Well, now you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you
my,
so
my
much.
pleasure.
Yeah.
So
So
let's start with the presentation. What do you say?
Yes.
sounds good. I'm
Waiting
just
to
trying to
hear
bring
your
it up.
stories.
Yeah, I am trying to play it. Okay, let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so this is about my journey as a photographer in terms of where I started from and where I have reached in my path as a photographer. Uh, I have divided my journey into four songs. I'm an old timer. That is why I still love the cassette. That's why I took the analogy from the cassette of songs. So there are four songs I think in my journey which I'm going to take you through. Uh, does not mean that one song is better than the other, but these are the songs that I've gone through, and the fourth song is where I am at presently in my journey as photographer. I might go back to song one after this. I don't know, but let's see.
Mhm.
Let's see my journey. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the contents of the cassette. The first song, I call it the Super Sharp, Super Happy. So this is the initial period when I started photography. I got into photography. Uh, well, I don't know why I got into photography, quite frankly. I remember as a child, I had a lot of toy animals. I mean, I come from a background where getting toy animals was also a privilege kind of thing. So I had, over a period of years, I had collected toy animals, and they used to be my treasure trove of sorts. So I always loved animals. I know that. My summer holidays were always filled with sketching. Uh, I am not very good at it. Don't expect me to share too many sketches around here, but I remember that I used to do sketching a lot. I used to copy cartoon characters like Tintin and Asterix and Superman and all of that, and Phantom. If you guys are from the old times and have seen Indrajal comics, so that is what I used to do during the summer afternoons in my vacations. And I believe somewhere I made the transition from that sketch to the camera. I purchased my first camera when I got my first stipend as a teaching assistant in a small town called Troy in upstate New York. I was surrounded by beautiful landscape and stuff like that. So buying a camera to try and capture those moments came naturally to me. The first 2 years I was horrible at it. Not that I improved very much later on either, but once I came back to India, I made a trip around in 2003 to Ranthambore, where I did not see any tiger in around 8-9 safaris, but I saw a lot of birds, and they somehow connected with me. And once I came back and settled into Pune, where I stay right now, I started exploring the areas and started shooting around and learning online and stuff like that. And that was a time when I was very happy just shooting sharp images. I was just happy that wow, I got a sharp image. Wow, I got a sharp image. I know that for certain birds and certain mammals, even that is enough in terms of the challenge. Because, for example, take for example a bougainvillea cichla. You get a sharp image of that bird, you're on a different high. Or if I remember the name correctly, the long-billed scimitar babbler, for example, or the coral-billed scimitar babbler. Or any of those skulkers, you get good shots. You're happy in terms of just sharpness. So that was my first song. Super sharp, super happy. I was very happy with my output as well. Then I went into this more of the species collection, wherein I'll go and search for a rare bird like the coral-billed scimitar babbler, or in this case the large Niltawa. A phenomenal bird. You don't have to do much as a photographer to get a good photo, because as long as it is there and you're able to focus and click, you're going to get a good shot. Of course, the camera makes a lot of difference. The skills make a lot of difference. But I believe genuinely that once you have the field knowledge about the birds, it becomes slightly more easier. And these days, the cameras are crazy. I mean, I know that back when I started off in 2000, somewhere around 2003-4, focusing was a big challenge. But nowadays, that's almost out of the out of your bracket kind of thing. ISO, for example, earlier, I'm sure Nisha, Miss, you will know. ISO 400, ISO 800. We used to be like, should I go beyond 800? I mean, there'll be a lot of noise. Now I don't remember when I started ISO 800 or that low kind of thing. So yeah, times are changing. So this is the second song. The third song, which okay, the third song was where I started looking for a story. Now, very important stage in anybody's career, I think, is when you are beyond the hunt for just species and talking more about images which will talk to people, and for that you need a story. I was generally unhappy about myself during this song stage because there was still I was searching for something. When I moved from song 2 to song 3, I was searching for something. I thought moments is the answer, but moments probably was not the answer for myself. But the answer for myself, I think, is the song 4, where I started exploring the creative or the artistic side within me. Now, art is very subjective, right? Somebody will call the image on the right that I'm showing right now as bullshit image. The terrain is almost touching the grass and all of that. So I know that it's very subjective, but it is something that that connects with me well. It is connecting at this point in time with me very well. Maybe 6 months down the line, I'll go back to song 3 or song 2 or song 1. Song 4, for example, is not, none of them are complete without some bits of each other. Song 4 needs song 3. Without song 3, song 4 is incomplete, especially, I believe,
Yeah.
As long as you have some moment in front of you and you can use your creativity to change the definition of that moment, that is what I think is photography. That is what I believe is photography. And yeah, let's try and look at each song a little bit in detail.
In
If you
depth.
guys have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. We can take them in the end if that's okay. Right,
Sure,
Nisha? Yeah.
we'll do that.
Okay. So I'm combining song one and song two because I don't want to bore you guys with too many images. So there will be images of birds, sharp images of birds is what I expect. But there is a pattern that I want to talk about. So I started with these guys, okay, and my first love still is waders and ducks. The reason being, inherently I'm a very very lazy person. So uh, I used to be lying down on my sofa for like hours and hours as a kid. So yeah, from where I come in terms of my nature, these birds were the easiest to get. They were also easiest in terms of they were very accessible around my area where I used to stay. So the Rudy shell duck, for example, is very common around the coastal belt of so the Rudy turnstone is very common around the coastal belt of Western India. The Gargani is probably one of the most commonly seen migratory ducks in India during winters. So I was lucky that these guys are also very bold generally. With waders, as most of you would know, you just have to lie down. It came naturally to me. I went there, I lied down on the shore, waited for the tide to come in, and with the tide, it brings birds as well. Along with water, it gets these shore birds as well. So it was very easy to shoot and uh, learn exposure kind of thing because these predominantly most of your waders when they come to India are whitish. It's very easy to blow away the whites or get completely dark shadows. So it was a good learning experience to shoot waders. The ducks were closer to me. They were probably, this duck was shot around 4 kilometers from my house at that point in time, and they gave me good practice to learn my art and to know what I want. So yeah, this is the start. These images are probably from 2005 6. Yeah, clicked with I think I shifted cameras, by the way. I shifted from Canon to Nikon to Canon to Nikon to Canon. I
Same
keep
here.
we all keep blaming the camera. No, this is not good enough. Autofocus is not good enough. Color is not good enough. Something is not good enough.
Yeah.
Until you finally realize, boss, the problem is here. So, anyways,
Totally
I'm still
agree.
I'm still struggling with accepting that. But yeah, I know in my heart of hearts that is what it is. So yeah, I don't remember the cameras unfortunately, but probably Nikon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, again, two species which were so the reason I included the one on the right, which is a duck. It's not a very good image. I know it's a duck called the common golden eye. Not very common in India. Very very hard to see. It was actually clicked in Japan in 2019. I included it in the song one because actually this is me calling out to song one in 2019. That this bird was so special for me. For so many years, I had tried to see this bird that when I saw him, I was all jittery and all shaking, and it like you see a tiger for the first time. I had the same expression. I had the same feeling. I had guests with me, believe me, and they were like, "This guy has gone crazy shooting this bird." So sometimes a child in you comes through, and I'm happy for that. I guess all of us have a vulnerable side. So that's the common golden eye. The one on the left is a very very special bird. It's called Mrs. Hume's pheasant. Mrs. Humes did not discover her. I think it was Mr. Hume who named it after Mrs. Hume. So, lesson for all the husbands and wives here. Right? So, yeah, it's a very special bird clicked in a very remote part in Thailand. It's in the area called Chiang Mai. And this bird, like most pheasants, are very, very early risers. So we used to go to a particular patch where this bird was seen quite often and stay there in a tent hidden for a few hours. And one of the days out of the 4 5 days we were there, we got lucky with this guy. As soon as this guy crossed the road, we had a thick cloud of fog come in, which did not rise for another 4 hours. So that day we clicked only this bird, and I'm not complaining. That is probably the only bird that I wanted from all of Thailand, and yeah, Chiang Mai gave me that. It's a good bird to get. It's a very pretty bird, as you can see,
It is.
and yeah, and a very rare bird. So this falls into the song two category of mine. Yeah. Uh, Another two very very rare birds from. When I say rare, I'm not saying they are in the endangered or the vulnerable category. I'm sure one of them is, but rare in terms of getting images of them. The one on the left is called the scarlet-faced Leosichla, and one on the right, which is probably my most favorite bird from Thailand, is the white-tailed robin. You don't see the white here, but believe me, it's the white-tailed robin. It's absolutely impossible to see a clear enough picture for this bird from India, which is why I made this trip to Thailand. My first requirement to the guide was I want a white-tailed robin, and he was like, "White-tailed robin? That is like superb starling for Kenyans." He was so comfortable saying that we will get it. I know where to get it, and luckily I did get it. Both these images are partly because of the cameras. Because if I had gone to this place back in 2007-8 with my 70 or the earlier cameras, I am sure I wouldn't have been able to click at such low light. And both these images are at around 3200 ISO. So I thank the camera makers for this, for being able to pull this off. These days it's become easier. Moving on, I've particularly tried to keep the journey. If you'll notice that the images start getting darker and darker.
Yeah.
Just like my tastes probably in terms of photography, in terms of what I used to do. These two again are from a place called Kaing Prachan in the slightly southern part of Thailand, closer to Bangkok, and both lovely birds to get, the silver-breasted broadbill or the great scimitar babbler or the large scimitar babbler. Both very rare. Again, they are the picture perfect definition of rare birds. And I like that I had the chance to experiment a little bit with underexposure. This was the stage in my life where I was learning, okay, underexposure is not just for theory. I can use it practically as well, where the need not necessarily be there. For example, if I had taken the image on the right of the scimitar babbler uh, at +1 compared to what I've taken right now, the bird would have still been okay exposed, but the background would have been very blotchy, and it would have called out for attention. So this was a stage where I started learning a little bit about when to use underexposure as a choice, not as a. Sometimes in some situations, underexposure is necessary. You can't do without it. But that is not photography to me. That is okay. Yeah, that is technical photography. Okay, bird is sitting on a branch with sky background, overexposed. Everybody knows. Sky, you're shooting in Japan in snow, and you've got a white bird in front of you. You do an exposure compensation. It's something that we've all learned in the books. But here I started doing something that I thought that justifies me as a photographer a little bit. And I think at around this time, I started dabbling with the sense of doing something more about my photography, giving something more than just portraits or just passport pictures, as I call these things these days. So I started looking for a story because I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing. See, the thing is, when we all started, I believe all of us started in a similar time frame, right? Nisha, maybe around in the early 2000s, somewhere around the early 2000s. There were not many photographers. The only platform we all of us probably had was that India Nature Watch, where you had Birds as Art or birdphotographers.net. There were only 2-3 platforms, and even getting decent shots, sharp shots of birds was not very very common. But then all of us started realizing that we need to do more. We need to either get action shots or get motion, get moments, kind of thing. Where Nisha started exploring with her bazooka and with the roller and stuff. I still remember. So we all grew. My song 3 is part of that as well. Somewhere around down the line, very late. If I may be very very honest with you guys, I almost took 8-9 years to grow out of song 2 into song 3, which was I'm thankful that I did. So yeah, song 3 is where I started looking for moments like, for example, I know that earlier on in my journey, if I had seen a shrike with a kill with a background where there is a twig coming out of the kill, I would have moved to the left. This shrike was with us for around 1 hour. He was trying to eat for around an hour. This I don't know whether it's a male or a female, but the partner was there as well. The partner came in, he or she ate as well. But I purposely chose this shot to showcase to you guys because this moment is where I added something to the moment, wherein I believe that that wig somehow in some way represents the soul going out of the lizard or the spiny-tailed lizard in this case. So that's what I thought that I have added to this image other than just documenting this. The right one is again a cheat, if I may say so. I mean, I don't think I've done anything special. I just got the moment right. The only thing with the reason this image, of course, it's a good moment. It's a red nape Shaheen, which is not very common to see in India. I was able to. This was the first time I was able to track the raptor from a sitting position to going up in the sky, making a kill in the sky, coming down, and then eating. I obviously did not catch all of that in the camera, but I caught it at least on the binoculars, and I was very satisfied with myself that yeah, today I'm able to now connect with the bird, wherein I gave it time. I gave it time and comfort. I was there with this bird for around 3 or 4 days, every morning, every evening. I was there. I did not try to go for any other bird during that trip, just so that, because quite frankly, we learn from our other fellow photographers, right? I used to see these Bangalore images with people with birds with kills left, right, and center, and I was like, boss, they must be doing something right which I don't know. And one of the easiest things that I could do, because I did not have an answer, but the easiest thing that I could do was, I'll just wait with the bird. Let's see what happens. Because quite a lot of times, we photographers, for example, when you go to LRK, when I take a trip to LRK, for example, you take one of the most common raptors these days in LRK is the peregrine falcon. You go to LRK, you search for a peregrine falcon, you get it, you spend half an hour with it, and you're done. Generally, that's what people do, right? You try to go closer, ground level, take off shot, done.
Yes.
We never try to document that, the story of that bird in that day. So that's what I thought, that this trip, let me dedicate it to this bird. That's what I've been doing after that. Every time I go to LRK on a personal trip, I dedicate it to one bird, and then we'll see what bird goes. So yeah, thank you, Bangalore photographers, who started this trend in India. In terms of, I believe that is how they do it as well. Spend time and nothing more than that. So yeah, that's what it is. Another couple of moments. One from my favorite place called Bharatpur in India. It's a for whoever's listening and has not been to Bharatpur, guys, please go to Bharatpur. Don't restrict yourself to winters in Bharatpur. Go anytime. There are birds anytime there. For example, this is one of my most commended shots from Bharatpur. This is a very, very common bird. It's not a winter migrant. It is Bharatpur is not the place where you should go searching for 100 species winter migrants. Don't do that. As a photographer, please don't do that. Go there for the local birds, and just spend time with them. I know of a lot of photographers who are doing this these days. They select a particular pond in Bharatpur, and they are just there for 7 days. And that's how I think photography will improve. We will improve in terms of giving justice to the subject.
Okay.
The one on the right is a fight between a adult stellar sea eagle and a young sea eagle, stellar sea eagle. These guys are coming in from Russia to Japan in the winter season, because probably the winter gets too bad in where they stay. I mean, not that winter in Japan is any less. I mean, this was clicked at like minus 25 degrees Celsius, and I was like, if this is warm for you, what is cold? I remember so generally I am not very bad at following the basic guidelines that go to the eye level, lie down on the ground and sleep. This is not from the ground, because I just did not have it in my heart to get down. When minus 25 degrees Celsius, I am shivering. Boss, what are you doing? But there were people, okay, there were smarter people who carried yoga mats. So I did not carry a yoga mat on that tour, but next time, I will get down on the ground. But it's a good moment again. Nothing that I have added much here, but it's a good moment.
Yeah.
Again, a couple of moments. One with a tiger carrying a wild boar. The other one, that's something that I really like the image, because that's something that I can never try at my home with my wife. If I try and shake I do have a long mane now, but if I do try this at home, I know I'm going to get kicked off. So, but anyways, it's an image that I wanted to make from a long time, in terms of a lion shaking its mane. I did get a couple of images of Olvarnoti and Lor Papit in Masai Mara last time I went there, but I've never been very lucky with it. So on this day, this guy gave me a few good shakes. Even the female did so later on. So it was just a matter of time, I believe. Again, the camera to so we are here. Yeah, so we are here. The turning point in my career, if I may say so. In two senses, right? I mean, this was clicked back in 2015, although it won the award in 2017. Even in 2015, when we were in Ranthambore National Park, where I made this image, this was done in Route 3. For those who do not know Ranthambore, Ranthambore has three predominant lakes which form part of this Route 3, and this was clicked near the lake closest to the exit gate, which is called the Rajbagh. So this is very close to Rajbagh Lake. Uh, and this was made at around 9:30. Okay, 9:30 actually during those days was the time to leave the park. We were circling around the park since 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, trying to search for this family. This was a family of four, the mother and three cubs, two females and one male. Both of these out here who are dancing around are females, both around 2 years old at this point in time, trying to establish their territory, or not territory, trying to establish their dominance within the siblings
Yeah.
at least, so that when they separate out, who gets charge of this area for that matter. So one of these has the Rajbagh area now. She has displaced her mother, and Arrowhead is the name. She is the one who is now leading the charge in that area. So we were around 9 o'clock or something. We decided that let's head towards the exit gate because we have to reach by 9:30, and we had not seen a tiger. And for those of you who are not very accustomed to Indian national parks, getting into Zone 3 in Ranthambore is not easy because it's always the prime area. You want to get tigers, you have to go to Zone 3. Or one of the most happening areas used to be during those times at least was Zone 3. And we had managed to get Zone 3 for 5 days out of the 10, 12 I was there. And I was like, boss, if I don't get a tiger in Zone 3 also, I don't know where I'll get. I mean, eventually, I saw more tigers other than in the other zones than Zone 3. But on this particular day, we were going towards the exit, and suddenly we saw Nalla Muthu's vehicle. So Nalla Muthu and Chris Bansal were doing a documentary on these guys. So I saw their vehicle also waiting. I was like, okay, let's just wait for 5 minutes with them. And that's when these four tigers walked in. They were probably in some area which was not accessible by vehicles. They came down towards the Rajbagh, and the mother went ahead, and the cubs were sitting close to each other and close to the mother as well. And that's when we saw that there is a very tangible tension in the air between these two, and we knew that something's going to happen. We just were lucky in terms of positioning our vehicle, and in terms of that, for example, this could have happened 20 feet to my left as well, and I would have been left with no shots, only Nanda Muthu's head and a tiger behind that head. Right, but certain amount of luck is always there. But we were lucky that these guys chose such an open area to dance, and I am lucky that obviously I could not have time for this. I was lucky enough that after spending 15 years in the wild shooting tigers, I knew tigers. I was not scared of their roar, because the way these guys roared, man, I mean, it was crazy. Two people in my vehicle did not even pick up their cameras. They were like, they were just frozen. So yeah, it was a moment that I can never ever forget. I'm thankful. It won the Nature's Best Wildlife category, as was mentioned earlier, in 2017. But more importantly, this image made me really think that, see, the thing is, when it started getting recognition, even before 2017, when I showed it to my friends and stuff like that, even Chris Banskill or Nalla Muthu were like, wow, because they didn't manage this angle, right? So my question was, what have I added to this image? What have I done to deserve this acclaim? I still do not know. I know the moment is good. I know the image is good. I cannot deny that. But I also cannot deny that I, as a photographer, haven't done much apart from being technically okay in clicking the image and making the, getting the ISO, getting the shutter speed, getting the aperture correct, getting the composition right. Nothing more has been added by me in the frame, which is what this image did. And it made me search harder inside to try and do something different, which is probably that image. And another comment by a friend of mine who said that, why do you click bird portraits? They can be clicked by anybody. That had stayed with me in my mind. So both of these events combined made me start seeing differently. Start seeing whether, because at the end of the day, I need to be satisfied with what I'm doing, irrespective of whether that image makes a sale or not or whatever.
Right.
So now I've started visualizing differently and trying to, even my teaching methodology has changed after that. I have people who've been traveling with me for the last 12, 13 years. So in the initial 5, 6 years, what I taught them, compared to what I teach them nowadays. They're like, you're 180 degrees opposite. Earlier, you used to tell us clean background, clean foreground, everything. Now you're saying slow shutter, blur foreground, it's all changed. But yeah, that's what it is. So everybody's, all of my gang is changing with me in some sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so what is the change that I saw? I think this image depicts it very well. This was clicked in 2013, where when I was still into sharp images, bird in flight. I'm very happy I got a Indian skimmer flying with greenish background and in decent light kind of thing. But now I'm happy with this image, right? It's still an Indian skimmer, still in the same place. It's just that I positioned the boat in the opposite place.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping the sun behind me, I kept the sun behind the subject. It's as simple as that. And I believe 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, when I started doing Bharatpur, I probably wouldn't have been able to achieve this because the focusing might not have worked. Now I have got better focusing, better camera gear, which is making me do these things.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've started doing very, very consciously is started to choose locations very, very specifically. I no longer do parks where I cannot have any control on light, which is why you will see that I have completely stopped doing tiger parks. Because there is very, very little control that I have in my hand in terms of positioning and doing anything creative. At least for me, I am not. Probably 1 year, 2 years down the line, I'll get better at it in tigers as well. But right now, I'm not that good. So I choose like places like Bharatpur, where there is a flexibility. Mara, Amboseli, Serengeti. These are places where there is flexibility and you can do stuff, right?
Yeah.
Another couple of examples of what I started liking. So the easiest and the first thing that most people do in creative wildlife photography, even if you do a Google creative wildlife photography, you will get rimlet and silhouettes, right? I mean, all of us know that. Yes. They are really nice ways to get creative. They are easy ways to get creative. So I also started with that. Tried to get some moments like with these two ostriches kind of thing. Again, the knowledge of the bird that I was lucky enough to accumulate in the years in the past helped here. For example, with the darter image, we all know that darters like to shake their wings once they come out of the water and they want to dry, right? And in Bharatpur, darters are very common. They are not winter migrant. They're very common. You go any time, darters are there, right? In smaller or bigger numbers, but they are there. So Bharatpur typically has a couple of sunset spots where most people end up going, and there is a crowd, and 90% of the time it is very, very disheartening because nothing happens on those sunset spots most of the time. So I have a couple of different points where I try and use the low light as best as possible. On this day, we got lucky that this chap had a late dip. Generally, they don't dip so late, but he had a very late dip in the water. Caught a fish, came out and did this, and all of us got some decent frames in the bargain. So this was I don't know. Forgot the competition. It's probably bird photographer of the year or one of those the UK-based bird photography competitions where this was highly commended image.
Okay. And the previous image, how did you take that ostrich?
The moment is luck, right? I was clicking rimlet of two different ostriches. They decided to come behind each other, and I grabbed the moment. So that's what I said. Song 4 is all about song 3 and adding your signature to song 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I've included these two specifically because I believe when we click silhouettes, we tend to forget the importance that your environment plays or the entire ecosystem plays in the image. I know that both of you are very conscious about including surroundings, including elements, including stories, because they tell a story of the place kind of thing by including them. That's something that I found that people, when they click silhouettes, they'll click I mean, even I have those images, and I don't know whether I've shared them here as well after this slide, but I have images of eagles in the sky flying, right? Without much story around, where is it flying from, what is it doing, kind of thing. So typical silhouettes are eagles sitting on or a vulture sitting on a tree kind of thing, where you focus mostly on the bird or the subject than the other things, which is what I wanted to try and break, because I think these tell a better story. For example, the one on the left of the leopard coming down, it it might connect with you, it might not connect with you, but for me it was a very, very satisfying image. The reason being, one is I remember missing this shot in Serengeti 5 years back, and I've been cursing myself for it for a long time. But anyways, so this time when I went to Serengeti, this is from my the last trip that I made before COVID. In fact, I remember I came back on the 11th of March 2020. 2020 was it?
Oh,
Yeah, 11th of March 2020.
yeah.
And 13th of March, India decided to lock down the airports at least. So we just made it back in time. And this is an image from then. This is an image. The reason I'm showing it is because you need to have a certain amount of pre-visualization in your images, irrespective of what you're doing, whether you're capturing moments or not. For example, this leopard was sitting on the branch, the horizontal branch on the left earlier. Okay. Now, when you see this leopard, and I was going on a road towards one of the kopis or the rocks in the central Serengeti, trying to search for lions. So along with me, there were like 6, 7 other vehicles going here and there as well. So when we spotted the leopard, all of them also spotted, because they have radios, they talk to each other. So everybody knew there's a leopard out there sitting on the tree. And unfortunately, there was a road going towards the tree as well. So in Serengeti, it's not very easy to get to do off-roading, right? I mean, you typically don't do off-roading in central Serengeti.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, there was a road going towards this chap. So everybody went there and stood very close. I knew that I wanted a shot of the leopard getting down on the tree. I could have got that shot from up close as well. But since I pre-visualized the silhouette with the entire tree, I decided that no, boss, I don't want to go anywhere. This image is clicked with a, I think, 70 Mark II with a 700 mm. So 500 plus crop plus 70 Mark II. This is probably a 5% crop. There's probably 5% more to this frame, but that's about it. Not, it's a 95% as is image. So I believe that for everybody listening and hearing, it's very important that you have some kinds of pre-visualization in your mind and what do you want to achieve out of a place. When you think about Serengeti, for example, you think about grasslands, you think about these huge umbrella trees, you think about leopards and lions, right? Serengeti is one of the best places for leopards on trees. So you think about shots and then go. Similarly to the one on the right, the lion going up the rock. That's a very characteristically typical Serengeti shot. I mean, you get this in Mara, you'll be like super lucky. The Black Rock Pride, for example, might give you something like this. But it is very, 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 very rare to see this in Mara. It's much more common to see in Serengeti a scene like this. So I think studying the place is very, very important, and pre-visualizing your shots is very, very important on what do you want to achieve out of the place. I've seen people going to central Serengeti and trying to shoot lions in the grass, cheetahs in the grass. Central Serengeti is not the place for that. You want to do such things, go to Mara. It is much better. The grass in a lot of places is much lower. There's better accessibility. So each place has its advantage, and we need to play with it as photographers. We shouldn't go to a park and think, no, I'll get all big five here. I'll finish my portfolio out here. Not going to happen. You go to Mara and you say, I want to make a portfolio of black rhino. You bloody stay there for 6 months, right? Anyways, that's what I think. You guys can disagree. I mean, you have more experience in Mara than me.
You're right. So,
again, a couple of rimlet, silhouette, whatever you call it, where there is something that I thought that I added to the frame. I waited for the right moment for that black-backed jackal to cross Lord Puppet here. Lord Puppet is the name of the lion, for those who are unaware. And I really like this moment because I can't really place it directly with any story of my childhood, like Jungle Book or anything, but it just tells me, it just reasserts lion as the king and the other as the subjects. I know it's not true, but the child in me wants to connect that way with this image. And also, it's a very special lion for all of us who've been to Mara in the last 10-15 years. We know how special this chap was. So this image holds a special place for me. The one on the left is a opportunistic grab, if I may say so. These two this male and female were meeting actually, and we found them at like 6:45 in the morning. I think this is one of the 6 brothers. I don't remember the name. Can't even see him right now. But yeah, one of the 6 brothers in the Rhino Ridge area. No. And so what happened was, once, as usual, once news spreads that you have a meeting pair of lion early in the morning with backlit or something like that, you get a lot of rush of vehicles. So that yellow dust that you're seeing is actually a rush of vehicles. and you have to be opportunistic at such times, right? I mean, that is what makes the image. You hide out
Yeah.
that dusty part, and it's a very very average image. Because quite
Yes.
frankly, once you know rimlets are easier to get, and with
Mm.
Mara you spend time, you will get chances like this, right? So I believe, yeah, there are a couple of instances where I have had to thank the other vehicles to spread the dust and give me something more to that image. uh, Right. So these two are purely the reason I've shifted to black and white a little bit is because I also started consciously going for black and whites during this point in time. Even now, I consciously decide on going to black and white. A lot of people ask me, when do I decide to go to black and white? I don't have a very very clear answer. Some people say, okay, bad background, bad contrast, bad lighting time. I do not go by that. My gut tells me that this image will look good in black and white, and I go with it. But if I have to think harder, uh, one of the key reasons where I decide that I want to go black and white is when I feel that the color is not adding enough value to the image. That is what I feel. For example, if you may allow me to go back, in both of these the yellow was necessary. It is
Mm.
adding some story to the element. It's adding some pop, something to the story. And in these two, I believe that the light was not adding a lot of value to the color of the light was not adding value, which is why I decided to go black and white. I was very lucky with the two cheetahs against the tree. Actually, I mean, this is from the five brothers, or not five brothers, sorry, the coalition of the five cheetahs, which I believe now is only four of them remaining. Hermes can give us an update if he has any. If there are four or now three in
Yeah,
market.
it's
What's
it's
the
it's
update,
four now.
Hermes? Okay, yeah. So
It is
the
four.
fifth
Yeah.
one has gone and merged with another guy, right? Or have a
Yeah.
coalition with somebody else. Right. So these five were walking on a marathon that day, as they usually are. They walk a lot, as all of us know. And on this day, they were so. This is both of these images are from the same sequence. Um, One clicked from both of them clicked from the opposite side of the Kalik River, actually. So we waited for these guys to come up to this particular tree, because we were following them for around 2.5 hours, and they were going from tree to tree to tree to tree, marking their territory. So we knew
Mm.
that, okay, when they reach the bank of the Kalik, they will come to this tree and give us some silhouette kind of shot. These are clicked at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so they
Oh.
are not your typical silhouette time. But the fact that I was like, the only thing I wanted was that, let me try and get a cheetah with a tree with the sky as the background, and then we'll see what happens. Luckily, the cheetah on the left stood right under the shadow of the tree, so a
Yeah.
little bit of underexposure made this image for me, and I think it really stands out as one of my most different cheetah images.
Yeah.
The one on the right is a hit or miss. I know my wife does not like that image at all. She calls it crap. I somehow connect with it. Maybe it is the emotions in me for the cheetahs. I mean, I'm a very very big fan of cheetahs. I mean, yeah, their life. There have been such moments that I've seen with cheetahs that it just shakes me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, I also do verticals, so I wanted to include these two because the story sometimes calls for a vertical, even though we all live in the times of desktops and laptops and horizontal screens. Even for example, putting a vertical image on Instagram is a pain because you have to add a crop or you have to add a border. But verticals are important because sometimes they tell the story that much better. Be it with the misty morning in Bharatpur with the little grapes coming down from their cover and coming up out into the open water, or be it the male lion. This lion actually, again, Central Serengeti, sitting on the kopi kind of thing. This lion, this image is very special to me because it. Now you will call me a nostalgic idiot but a lot of things relate to my memory, and that is how I make images. If any of you've seen this movie called Ghost in the Darkness, there is a
Yeah.
particular shot in that movie wherein a lion comes up from in front of on a railway station, on the top of a cabin. It comes up and it jumps down to kill somebody, and that shot has stayed with me ever since. I think that was 1996 or something when I saw that movie, and it has stayed with me. When the lion, you look to the left and up, and towering above the entire black expanse is a lion coming up. that is what this chap reminded me of. Even though it's not the best of positions, I cannot see the hind legs of this lion. Still, I believe it conveys a strong enough story in terms of the magnanimity or the strength of the animal, that he powers over you. When you go to Central Serengeti, when you go to that his domain, he is the king. That is what this image tells me. And quite a lot of times we are very, very hung up about technical perfections in an image. For example, I know people will talk about, there are a few dots that you see forming a line, which are the lens flare that you see in this image. But I am okay with it. In this image, at least, I don't think they are hindering. They are okay. I mean, don't, because rather than not making an image like this, I'd live with these. Of course, I know
Yeah.
people will say you can just clone them out, but why clone it out? It's okay. It's what I feel.
But
Don't
that
spend
add
too much time
value.
doing that. Yeah, that's what I believed as well. It's a source of light and coming in kind of thing, giving some dimension to the story. Again, couple of moments where I got lucky in terms of the light. I am searching hard and hard and harder every trip to make use of light. With the elephant in this case, it was a good half an hour when this window was there. Okay? It's not that this happened and the elephant came and suddenly I got a shot. It was not a nick of the moment kind of image. The shaft, if I may call it, was there for a good half an hour. The elephant was moving at a very, very steady pace. I was just keeping my fingers crossed. Keep Boss, when you reach the the shaft, please still let the shaft still be there. Let it not go. It got darker than it initially was. It got slightly more gloomier than it initially was. So it would have been a different mood image if the elephant would have obliged us half an hour earlier. But I'm happy with the overall result. Anyways, this is also one point where I want to talk about the color of this image. If you notice, it's not a typical silhouette orange,
Yeah.
because I believe people are overdoing that 9,000 Kelvin or 9,999 Kelvin images of silhouettes. You don't need to be restricted by that. Yes, they look good, but even a 5,000 Kelvin image can look good, right? So I mean, the image on the left here is a 9,000 Kelvin kind of image. But when the situation asks if there are other colors, you don't always have to overpower them with orange.
Yeah.
The blue, I think, adds a lot of value here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not gone to black and white because I thought the color is adding value. That's my only simple piece. I am a very uncomplicated person. I can't think much. So brings to two of my very, very favorite images. The one on the left is absolute. A lot of times people say I don't have one favorite. I have not clicked my favorite image yet. Probably this is to me. This is at this point in time one of my favorite frames because we predicted the moment well. We predicted that the light well. We positioned our vehicle correctly in this case, and I think the entire synergy in this image is coming through well. Comes out very, very well in the print as well. I have a huge 6 foot of this image, so I think it looks good. Just wanted to show you guys this image. That is why it's included there. Nothing great in terms of technicality. You just underexpose and click, nothing else, right? One on the right is again about being at the right time at the right place. We were actually going back to our lodge, dejected that there's no elephant on the left because we couldn't get a rimlet or a silhouette. When this herd decided to move from the right to the left, and just as they passed by, this guy stood here, gave a kick on the ground, and went away. So that's I got 3 frames when he kicked it from a moving vehicle. Generally we click from a very steady vehicle, engine off, because we do not want the vibrations. This is a 7200 2.8 on a moving vehicle. At obviously the shutter speed was very high for me to be able to get the sharp image, but completely unplanned for image. Not everything is planned. I have not pre-visualized this. Completely unplanned, but sometimes you have to give it to luck. You just be there, and sometimes luck is right. I think the last couple of frames. I've seen a lot of side-lit images. Even for example, one of my images that I like a lot is a leopard coming out of the dark, side-lit kind of thing. And side-lit imagery, whenever I've seen people experimenting with it, people generally use black backgrounds or dark backgrounds for side-lit images. This image for me changes that. Even a side-lit image with a bright background can work sometimes. It depends on what the background is. Here, the background is a is a huge tower of, I call this image the two towers of Amboseli, one being the Kilimanjaro, the other being the elephant. I believe it connects well. It is slightly different than the run-of-the-mill elephant against Kilimanjaro image. Uh, Not to the Nick Brandt level in any sort of imagination. 100 times, 100 times, he's the epitome to what we all want to go for in terms
Yeah.
of what he's done in Amboseli. And yeah, this is my take at side lit image. If somebody wants to do side lit images, I think you should don't close yourself to just black background and just the face of the animal side lit kind of thing. Uh, Again, dust from for the zebras in this case was from the vehicle, and I use the vehicles a lot. I love when people are speeding around for something else, and I make images of more cooperative subjects. In this particular case, there was a serval sighted, and people were rushing for the serval, I believe. Uh, that's what it is. So sometimes you get lucky with the
Yeah.
tourists. Okay, these two images are from a very special place for me. It's a place called Hokkaido in Japan. Uh, Same place where we clicked that eagle at minus 25 degrees Celsius. The reason I included these two images are the one on the right is slightly more common. I'll be more in color. Most people shoot these guys in color, but the mist and the dreamy mystery effect that black and white adds is much more than what a color image would have added, I believe. So that's a typical overexposed swan image from Japan. But one on the left, the reason I included this here is because I have seen very few underexposed images from Japan, or for that matter, underexposed images in snow. True, I am not taking the advantage of snow or winter here, but there is a story still to tell. Even with darker frames, there is a story to tell in Japan as well, which is why I thought, this is slightly different from what general people will do. This is a song for in me singing up and saying, do something different. Try to add your signature to the image, kind of thing. And I don't mean by the logo; it shouldn't have been there. It's spoiling the image. Sorry about that. I forgot to remove that. Okay, I think the second last slide, guys. I will not bore you too much.
Oh no.
Both images are here only for one particular reason. One is obviously, yes, you have to, or two reasons. One is you have to look for moments and sometimes create moments. Like for example, in the one on the right, a typical reflection done slightly differently, shown slightly differently. I mean, the image was not clicked like this. I mean, I was not holding the camera upside down, right? So it is just that during the post processing, I thought it would work better if change it, flip it around, kind of thing. But the prime reason why both of these images are here is because this is where I started realizing that white balance plays an important role as well. Apart from it being a silhouette at 9,000 Kelvin, see, the thing is, I could have clicked the image on the left, for example, silhouettes of cranes dancing with mist rising from the river and hoarfrost on the trees, that snowy feel on the trees. It was a picture perfect situation. I would have to had to do something drastically wrong to get anything, get a bad image out of there. But by default, this image would have come out yellowish, right? And I would have liked it because the elements are all there and it is correct. It is looking good. Even with yellowish, it is looking good. But the reason the fact that I tried the white balance out in the field to get it down to 4,000 kind of thing gave me this bluish image. The problem with a lot of times is that you come back home and when I used to teach basics of photography, I used to tell, forget the white balance, keep it to, as long as you're clicking raw, you can change it in the processing. Now I take back that comment, because even the yellowish image, I would not have changed the white balance because it wouldn't have struck me. It was looking good as is. Even yellow is looking good, but I believe this is looking better, and this can only happen wherein you try out in the field. So I think the key is spending time. For example, when I went on this trip to Japan, I spent around 4 or 5 early mornings from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. in minus 28 degrees Celsius waiting for the cranes, and I have probably 5 frames to show for it. Maybe a frame a day, but I think the more time you spend, the more creative you get, the more experimental you get. Experiments succeed, experiments fail. When they succeed, you get images which which make you happy, and that is the ultimate thing. Forget what likes and comments and stuff like that. I mean, but ultimately you need to be happy with your images, right? So that is what it is with these two images. Both clicked with crazy white balances, which you would generally not. But I would implore. I don't know whether that's the right word, but I'll ask people humbly that please try white balance on the field as well. It's not something that is only for post processing, because you might forget to do it. It just might not strike you.
Yeah.
Okay, to my current madness, if I may say so. I am a big fan of these days using the foreground. We all started our careers in photography as people who would want to do clean background images, nice low eye level kind of shots. All three of us have been there. And I think over the period of years, we've found that some amount of foreground can add a story to the image. A leopard,
Yeah.
for example, is by nature a skulky cat. It does not want to be in the open with you. Generally, there are some which are very confident, but by and large, you would see a lion easier than a leopard, because the leopards don't want to be seen as one part of it, right? So that I think the mystery or the that quality of the leopard is what I wanted to bring out by clicking an image through the foliage kind of thing. Same is what I tried with the giraffe, because quite frankly I was tired of clicking normal silhouettes of giraffes. So I tried to add some foreground into it, add some element into it kind of thing. Increase their height to the clouds kind of thing is what I wanted to do here. Again with the cormorant as well, this image actually would, to be very honest, looks better in color. So I have done a mistake here by including them in black and white. But anyways, the story is the same. I wanted to add some mystery, add some element of I wanted the eye of the viewer to reach to the cormorant not very easily through not so distracting foreground. That's my attempt. And I believe that is okay. This is the last one, and this is my last image from Mara. Clicked on the 1st of January 2020 with the Fig Tree Pride early morning. Yeah, two cubs and a female sleeping. One of my most memorable mornings with these guys. 1st of Jan, everybody was sleeping after partying, I guess. So we were the only vehicle there, and these guys stayed. Yeah, these guys stayed out in the open for a bit longer than they used to do every day. So I got lucky with them.
Beautiful.
So I've done, man. That's all that I had to talk about. Bore you. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Let me know how you think. Right? Yeah. Tell me.
I'm
Amazing.
surprised
No.
there are no much questions today. Usually,
we have in our group, we have some questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually I see a lot more questions, and I think maybe
People
it
are
was
bored.
quite explanatory.
So
I
our
might
first
have
question
bored
is,
people.
what are the main challenges that you faced or face as a wildlife photographer?
Challenges. Interesting. So earlier on, the challenge was the camera. In terms of getting to know the camera, I was not very good at it. Later on, it came down to, I think, one of the key challenges here is finding the subject. Finding the subject in good enough light, predicting the light. So I think the challenges mainly are before the tour for me, more than after the tour. My main challenge is to, for example, if I wanted to go to Amboseli, earlier I would have gone in January. Now I probably will not go in January, knowing that there is rain. And okay, if you want elephants in the greens with the green background and all of that, go. Jan is probably a better time to see the Amboseli with the Kilimanjaro, maybe. But now I will not go during that time, because I am very clear. I want dust. I want dusty light. And even if it means that I'll get 50% the number of elephants that I would probably get in another month, I will choose that month. So researching about the place is the main challenge, because not every place is very easily available on the internet. For example, I've been dying to go to Mana Pools, but I am still not satisfied with the amount of research I've done about Mana Pools. Only once I'm satisfied that okay, I know what to do in that place, will I probably make a journey. Same goes with any place like Bharatpur. I've been there 15-20 years. So now I know that okay, getting the subject, getting the light, that's the main challenge, I think, as a photographer always.
Okay. We have another request from Rakhavendra Kalar. Please share the camera settings or the EXIF details for the silhouette images.
Okay, so I don't know. I can just give you some value, like let's say 1/4000 minus 2 exposure, ISO 400. or I can tell you something slightly different, but it will be in the same range. See, when you ask for the exif details, when I used to ask, I mean, we've all been through this, right? I used to ask for exif details a lot because I wanted to understand the image.
Yeah.
I believe the question here, I'm sorry, but I believe the question here should be to your own self, in your own mind, how will you shoot this image? Will you underexpose? Will you overexpose? If you're underexposing, meaning you are telling the camera that you want a darker frame, it will result in a faster shutter speed, right? So,
Yeah.
so the only thing that you need to know, I believe, is whether it was underexposed or how was it shot. One of the easiest way to do silhouettes is just underexposed, right? If you know about metering lock or meter locking, that's another way of going about it, where you point it to the brightest area, lock the metering, and then recompose and shoot. These are the two ways. So the exif really does not matter. The technique matters. You are either doing underexposure, -2, -3 stops of exposure, or you are shooting with the meter locked at the brightest subject in the entire area. I hope that answer suffices. If not,
Yeah.
call me up. We can discuss.
And second would be the playing with the Kelvin value.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Silhouettes a lot of times work very well with either, if you want a very blue, go to the one end of the spectrum, like 3000, 4000 Kelvin. If you want very orange, you go for the other end of the spectrum.
That's
9000,
the
10,000.
story between me and Hermie. I prefer the yellow and Hermie prefer the blue. So we call him Hermie Blue.
I will have to be with Hermie here. I mean, even though this elephant image is orange, I tend to do more bluer these days than oranges. I'm with him
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Even during the
To each his
daytime,
own.
he kind of always try to go slightly on the. You can see that
Bluish.
in our images. Mine will be slightly more yellowish, and his will be slightly more bluish.
Yeah, to each his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next question is, how did you go about pursuing your dream?
I never told you what my dream was.
Dream as a wildlife photographer.
We assume.
Maybe that was the.
We assume.
I'm still way far. I'm still far away from my dream, man. But I believe at some point in time I got lucky with my family. So I started off as an IT professional. I still am. I still am active in the IT field. But the love for nature and wildlife was always there. As an IT professional, we get the advantage that you make a slightly decent amount of money to spend on travel. And I think 2002, 3, 4, that was the time when IT was picking up and travel suddenly started to be a very, very easy thing to do for a lot of people. Flights started picking up and stuff like that. So I guess it started off very slowly in terms of because I had very limited amount of money to spend on it. But that's how I started off. Somewhere down the line, it just became a passion and it became a obsession of sorts that, was every waking minute of the day, I am thinking about animals and light. Well, not light at that point in time, but about animals. And, I used to be on calls with guides from Bandhavgarh. That was the time when I used to do Bandhavgarh a lot. Every year I used to go to Bandhavgarh for like 15, 20 days. And, I'll talk, what happened, B2 ko kya hua, P1 mar kya, Challenger ka kya hua, kind of things. So, you're talking about tigers as if they are your next door neighbors. So the passion became an obsession of sorts, and somewhere I realized that, boss, if I have to see, selling images was not easy, right? So I was like, if I have to keep traveling, I need to do something other than my daily job as well to sustain. So I started teaching. I had never taught before. I don't know whether I'm a good teacher or not, but people did not throw tomatoes at me, so that was fine. So I was like, as long as they're listening to me, I am going to teach. So I started doing basics of photography workshop, and that was around the time when even Toehold started. 2009 odd is when Jayant Sharma started Toehold. Jayant happened to be a friend through multiple visits to Ranthambore, so he called me up, boss. Don't hurt my business, join me, kind of thing. So I was like, fantastic. You bring the crowd, I will teach. So that's how it all started. I mean, I spent a good 3-4 years with Jayant and Toehold doing part time with them. For a brief period of time, or not brief, for around 2-3 years, I was full time with Toehold as well. So I got lucky because an organization like this, nowadays there are many more organizations, but back then Toehold was the only one that was starting off. And they approached me saying that, we can also do this full time if you want to. I talked to my parents, talked to my wife, and she was like, okay, I give you 3 years of your life, go try out whatever. Right? So I got lucky there in terms of getting support from them. Not everybody is lucky, I understand. But teaching was one way which helped me get in some money and still pursue my passion. And then I got lucky with Toehold and started doing this full time, leading tours, doing workshops, kind of thing. And that's about. I think passion, what you want to achieve, you will achieve it. Somehow or the other, you will reach them. That is what I feel. I mean, I'm not a very structured or methodical person in life, but I believe the passion is what drove me. A lot of times we hesitate. I remember even hesitating asking my parents or my wife that are you guys okay with this? I had this conundrum in my mind for months and months that whether I should even ask. And one fine day Jayanth was like, "Boss, do you want to come or not? Just make up your mind. I can get others as well," kind of thing. So I was like, "Okay, boss, high time I should ask them." And I took that plunge, and it worked out well for me. And yeah, I'm still continuing on that dream journey. I am very, very fortunate that I can travel as much as I do. And I wish all of you guys who are listening all the best as well for your passion.
You still with Tohold?
No. I left Toehold back in 2016, or I guess. I was there with them for 3 years, 3 years. So 2016, 17, I left Toehold, and I thought that, let me start RS photography for a lack of better word and my lack of creativity in terms of words. I wish I had come up with Paws trails kind of thing, but yeah. But so it is RS photography for me, and I lead very, very small boutique tours these days with like 3, 4, 5 clients at most, kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I do, and predominantly, as you know, Mara and Amsel.
Yeah. For us, it's mainly focused on Mara most of the time. But
yes, I see Mara trails. I actually, quite frankly, just half an hour back, I saw the vehicle images from your website. They are interesting. I mean, I was like, wow, they've really put in thought in making the vehicles. I mean, whoever is listening, guys, when you go to Mara for the first time, you inevitably are in vehicles where you're standing up to shoot. I mean, that is the worst thing that you can do in Mara, if you ask me, as a photographer.
yes.
So you should see the vehicles that these guys have made. I'm sold on that. For a lot of photographers like us, the place comes secondary in terms of where you're staying. I mean, obviously the location matters. Where in Mara the lodges matters, but most important is how the vehicle is, how the guide is. So I believe you guys made a fantastic start, and that's all the best.
Thank you. We've been really lucky after that. I mean, the journey is only now it's just 3 months, right? Hermi, July to October.
Yes.
But so far, even if it was, this COVID and all this situation, we were still blessed with some amazing moments and some amazing guests. So, nature. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
We have a couple more questions.
Sure.
You have traveled to many destinations. Which is your favorite place to capture wildlife?
You see, there is a concept called recency effect. You're only as good as your last project, right? So my last most successful tour was Amboseli. I got some phenomenal moments. If I can take liberty of giving two places, let me give you two places. The first one is Amboseli. Second is Bharatpur. Both places, I generally do not have to search for subjects. The subjects are there. I have to just be creative enough to shoot good. And, those are the two places where I can teach the best. See, it's for example, I heard somebody went to Rwanda, right? One of you two.
Yeah.
For our ancestors. When you go for it, right? So that's the kind of place that I would love to do as a photographer myself. But when I'm taking people who are new to photography, and I want to teach them stuff, it's places like Mara, Amboseli, Bharatpur, where you are not really struggling for subject. That is where you can teach them the most, or at least I can. It's my limitation that I need places where subject is not the primary concern. In Mara, I mean, something or the other is always there. For example, Amboseli for me has been very lucky, which is why I'm picking on Amboseli as my first place of reference in terms of shooting. Second would be Bharatpur, because that's again a place, any time of the year you go, you have subjects, you have light. It is up to your creativity or lack of it to make images.
What advice would you give to the young photographers who are just starting off?
Wildlife photographers, first, probably learn from somebody. Attend a couple of workshops if you can, online or in person, whatever is comfortable. Learn your skill better. Don't blame the camera like I used to do. and go to places close to you repeatedly. Don't come back with the answer that I've seen that place, there's nothing there. We've all done that, right? We've all burnt our fingers, but we all know better now that your backyard, whatever that means, the backyard could be 10 kilometers from your house or 1 kilometer from your house, but your backyard is your best learning ground. So find friends, go to your backyards and click together and criticize with each other. Your best critique is somebody who has nothing to lose. For example, if you've got kids, they are probably your best critics. If you're married, probably your husband or wife are your best critics. They have nothing to lose in telling you that this is shit, right? That is the person that you want as a critic to start with.
Yeah.
Until and unless you start being objective about your images yourself, and you know yourself that this is good or bad. But initially, everybody needs help. And I'm sure if anybody wants to reach out to me or Nisha or Hermi about it, about images, I'm sure these guys do it in Paws as well, in some amount of level. But we are open to that. Find a good critic, guys. It's very, very important in your learning stage.
Yeah.
So
that's all the questions for the day we have.
Awesome.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you for having me, Nisha.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for calling me
so
here.
much for sharing your knowledge and experience.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for sitting through 1.12 or 80 minutes of my lessons.
Enjoy the journey. The song number 1, the song number 2, then the combination, and to song number 4. It was amazing.
Thank you. Those are the things that people. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. I would love to hear from you guys someday about your journeys as well in some platform, maybe Mara Trails, maybe wherever. But look forward to seeing both of you. I believe it's time that thing is when we become tour operators kind of things, it's very difficult to have partners whom you can learn from. You learn from everybody, but for example, if you do a tour with like you two do tours together, I'm sure you're learning from each other because both of you have been shooting for so long together. So that's something that I miss, and it's something that I want to do as a community. That all the ready tour operators should also go mingle with each other and learn from each other, man. Because some people are very good at some things and you're not, right? So
exactly, yeah.
Well, someday, fingers crossed.
Hopefully soon.
Leading tours is very helpful because sometimes when you are with your students, I mean, they may have a different perspective. We may not even think about. So that's always.
That is the selfish reason apart from money. That is one of the reasons to do tours, because you get the perspective of everybody. And you learn from, boss, this is nice. I should have done this kind of thing. In your heart, you're like, yeah, network copy karna chahiye tha. Kind of thing. Anyway, so you learn from people always.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay,
guys. Thank you for coming in the morning, Nisha. Thanks, Armi.
Thank you so much.
And bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, guys. Bye.
Good night.
That was Rahul, and we had an amazing journey through his songs and through his images. Literally,
very nice talk. Very humble person. Very nice talk.
Yes.
Nicely narrated everything. Well composed songs.
Well composed songs. Yes. So that was it, and we have a bunch of sessions coming up this month. I think back to back
sessions.
A lot of back-to-back sessions. So we are starting with mobile photography, drone photography, some amazing people, young guys featured in Nat Geo and a couple of other platforms using mobile and drone. Some magical moments we are going to showcase soon. Stay tuned.
Yes.
But it's going to be in this next week, right? Back to back, we have a bunch of sessions.
To sit and do the posters.
Yeah. So wait for it, and if you still haven't got your COVID vaccines, please do that. It's important. Okay. On that note, we would like to say bye. You all please take care. Stay safe.
Yeah. Bye.